Hello, my dark and spooky souls. Welcome to our mystical corner of the internet. It is the most wonderful time of the year once again, as the leaves turn shades of crimson and gold and a gentle chill kisses the night sky. We once again embark on the most beautiful, bewitching time of the year, autumn. It's like actually really hot right now as we're recording this. I can't wait until it's cold out. That sounds terrible because every winter I pine for summer, and then as soon as summer gets here, I pine for fall. I guess it's just like that vicious cycle of the grass is greener on the other side. But also I just pine for fall year round, so I think that's what it is, really, actually. So today, my fellow souls, I wanted you to embark on a journey with me to revel in the magical art of witchy Halloween decorating. Was that good? Was I like, yeah. I didn't practice this. My house is very kind of cottagey and woodsy already, and I really love to lean into that. It's really old and creaky and kind of unfinished in places. So my decor has always been inspired by witchy stuff because I am a witch. I'm also Libra. I was born in October, so my obsession with October and fall has a lot to do with where my heart and my soul align and rest. I wanted to take you on this journey of infusing intention and romance into every nook and cranny of my house to celebrate the witchiest Halloween yet. Cue like the synth music right now. Okay. I always buy a bunch of fake flowers at craft stores, wherever I can find them. I like the ones that obviously look kind of real. I have people ask me all the time when they come in, are these real? No. And the best thing about them is that you don't have to water them. I am a plant killer. I am trying my best. I really want to be a better green witch. Sometimes if I get plants as gifts, I'll keep them alive out of guilt. I've also had this ivy up on our staircase for a while now. I just love the way it makes me feel. I love bringing nature in, even if it's plastic, it still gives the illusion, the idea, the mood of having plants in the house. Having foliage all over my house just makes me feel like I'm living out my dream of being a fairy witch living in a cottage, even though I don't live in a cottage and I don't live out in the middle of the country, but I do live in a weird, spooky place, so that counts for something, right? So I wanted to share a little craft with you guys today in case you wanted to do an easy, fun little decor craft. I saw these ghosts on Pinterest a while ago. It was like a ghost garland, and I wanted it so bad, but I was short on time. It's also really inexpensive to make on your own. I just looked at it and I was like, I can totally make that. So that's what I did. So pretty straightforward. Draw your own little ghosty ghost, whatever your heart desires. I ended up doing a couple different ghosts just to have a little bit of variation for my garland. Then fill in the eyes and the mouth with some black Sharpie. I like to erase some of the pencil lines so that way when you cut it out and you don't get like that clean scissor cut along the edges, you don't still see charcoal. And then you just cut your little ghosty ghost out. This ghost name is Lenore. You can name your ghosts if you like. I think it gives them a little bit of personality. Maybe come up with a story of why they're haunting the world thereafter. Maybe unrequited love, or maybe they regret not ever buying that pair of Alexander McQueen shoes. Then line your ghosts up with the fishing line on the back and use the white duct tape so that it's not gaudy. And then I just use an S-hook that I found in my kitchen drawer on each end to hang them. It's so homemade looking, and I love stuff like that. It's just cozy, and it's special. I just remember I always have fond memories of making crafts or making art. I feel like that's how I timeline my life, by art that I've made through certain years, and just having special memories attached to that, nostalgia, and especially when the seasons come around and you are already celebrating the season, you have these cozy little memories of creating something beautiful. So I wanted to clean out my bookshelves that have been kind of sitting there all dusty with books that have just been crammed here and there, just kind of nonsensically. I have a very busy life. I do multiple things as an artist. I keep busy with freelance stuff, and there have been a lot of seasons where I haven't had very much time to actually revamp my entire space when I'm decorating. It's always just kind of haphazardly stringing lights and trying to do everything in one day, which is always very overwhelming because I have accumulated a ton of Halloween decorations at this point. I also have had these little bat decals that you can stick on stuff, and it always reminds me of the little girl meme where she's like, "Look, it's frickin' bats."
It's frickin' bats.
This is Bobbi in the future, by the way. A bat got into our house. Ooh, maybe we manifested our little friend. What are you doing?
It's like coming out.
I don't know how we're supposed to get this out.
It's frickin' bats. I love Halloween.
I found this cute, cozy idea on Pinterest with all of these books stacked up in the fireplace with candles on top. I already have a bunch of candles that I light in my fireplace, but I wanted it to be a little bit more dramatic for the season, so something more dark academia inspired. I found a collection of classics from the local library for only $20 for all of these great books of the Western world that were issued in 1952. It includes Shakespeare and Aristotle, Plato, Dante. Just so excited about it. I'm putting all of my real candles on here just to see what it looks like, but I'm obviously going to replace these with some fake LED candles, just a disclaimer. I have all of this artwork that I bought from Valfree. I have this amazing print of Edgar Allan Poe that I've had for a year now. I've had all these prints. I bought them last fall, and I've been meaning to frame them, but it's so hard to find unique frames that aren't an arm and a leg. I love vintage Halloween decor. I've been inspired from my mom, who had all this vintage decor from like the 80s, and obviously living through the 90s, had all of that. So I always seek out vintage decor every year. I have a vintage cat. I feel like this might be more of a 40s or 50s style. So I have to look that up. Amazon actually has a lot of really cute vintage stuff. That's where I got this cat. I got this cat's Garland that hangs. They have like a bunch of old vintage witches or even clowns, and even the cats with the accordion paper legs where they hung down. They'd have them at like kids' parties or some shit. So I know you're probably dying to see the reveal because we've been taking our time with it. But first I wanted to give you some spooky book suggestions to get you in the mood for autumn. I feel like it's like spooky season all year round, so this is really not hard for me. I started reading Jane Eyre in June, and I found this beautiful copy at Barnes & Noble, and it's got these gold gilded pages. They're super durable, weighted pages and slippery. Ooh, that sounded kind of sexual. Yeah, I'm like just like feeling up the book. I'm like out by the pool reading like a classic gothic Victorian romance novel. But the thing about Jane Eyre that I really loved is it's not quite a romance novel. It was actually like one of the first feminist manifestos of its time, written in the mid 1800s. It was really revolutionary. The time everyone was writing about women just had to be married off, and that was their future. That was like the main plot of every book from that era. But Jane Eyre is about a woman who is an orphan, raised part of her life by her aunt, but her aunt kind of finds her unruly and doesn't want anything to do with her, so she ships her off to this boarding school. And Jane Eyre is excited about that because reinvention. She was in this family that had zero love for her, and she goes to this strict boarding school with these crazy ass conditions of living, and she weathers through it. A lot of crazy shit happens in this book. It's kind of all over the place, but I kind of love that. I've always been into genre melting in any form of art. She becomes a governess, and she ends up being at this estate with Mr. Rochester, and he's this dark, brooding man, you know, my favorite. And he has like dark secrets, and he pulls some tricks on her. He's kind of an asshole, really. But he does grow on me. When I first started reading this, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure about Mr. Rochester. All these old Victorian novels, I feel like the stakes weren't very high for men. Like if men just even like, if they even said you had kind eyes, and you're like, oh, the man of my dreams. The settings that are set are insanely beautiful and visceral, and my favorite kind of writing. When I'm reading a book, I just want to be transported to a place and get lost in it. This bish has a vocabulary like I've never experienced before. I think that like there was every other sentence I was like looking up a word. Love that. So there's some plot twists, and it's very satisfying. I don't want to give anything away. Okay, my second recommendation. I have to say I haven't read this all the way through. I'm like 1/4 through, which is a terrible thing to be suggesting a book I haven't finished. But Ray Bradbury is a master, and one of my favorite novels ever is Something Wicked This Way Comes. I just never know where his stories are going to go, and The October Country is a compilation of a bunch of short stories from the mind of the spooky master, and they're just so creative. And there was this one about mummies and catacombs that I read the other day, and it was just, I can't stop thinking about it. And anyone who doesn't think his stuff is scary is insane, because it's very heady, and he's one of those writers that he leaves you wanting to know what exactly happened. He doesn't piece everything together for you. Every time I read something by Ray Bradbury, I'm always scratching my head, and there's always 100 possibilities of what could be going on within these characters and what actually happens at the end of each of his stories. You're left wanting more each time you read Bradbury. This is The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. I absolutely adore The Witching Hour. So it's about this ancient family of witches that came over and settled in New Orleans. It's about how there's this entity, this spirit of this man that follows the family around. And no one can figure out if he's like a demon, if he's a ghost, if he's real. And this other character, Michael, and he has some kind of history and psychic connection with the family. Anne Rice is a master of scenery and setting, and she talks about the architecture and the scenery, the plant life, the history of New Orleans, and it is just so magical. I love architecture and I love old houses, especially the Italianate style that she talks about. But the Mayfair family lives in one of these old mansions. Oh, I just like, oh, it's so sexy to me. I can't get enough of stuff like that. Also, I know that Anne Rice wrote a lot of erotica, and I've never read her erotica because I felt like this kind of just did it for me anyways. There's some sexy in there. It's also pretty creepy and dark. Anyways, that's my summation. Well, it looks fabulous. I'm super happy with the results. Thanks for joining us with our first video on YouTube. I know that this is just the beginning of not only Halloween decorating this year, but just the start of a wonderful, beautiful adventure here on YouTube. We're excited about the journey. We're excited to share our lives with you. Well, I hope this filled you with all the cozy, warm, fuzzy, spooky feelings for the holiday season. Signing off here, I'm Bobbi Kitten, and I will see you on our next video.